So they've been dogs, cats, elephants, eagles, bears, camels, rats, and of course horses.
The dog has served man for centuries. His progress and use have changed with the times, but always he has shown adaptability to specific tasks.
Dogs have been a constant source of comfort for American soldiers, often serving as mascots and companions during service. General Washington, going back all the way to the American Revolution, actually returned a dog that he captured from General Howe, the British general, with a note, giving his compliments and returning his dog, knowing that he too cared much about his dogs. He knew he'd want him back. Dogs have been used most recently in Afghanistan and Iraq to detect bombs. Perhaps the most noticeable one recently, though, was a dog that accompanied the raid that captured Osama bin Laden. Sergeant Stubby was a dog who served in World War I and later became the mascot for the Georgetown Hoyas. While alive, though, he met 3 different presidents, including Coolidge, Harding, and Woodrow Wilson. During the war, he actually warned soldiers of an impending gas attack and also helped capture a German soldier. Cats have been often found on naval ships, historically, and they serve not only to comfort sailors who are away from home for a long period of time, but they also serve to get rid of rats and mice. The USS Monitor supposedly had a cat go down with the ship. Now, it's a legend and it's probably false, but we do know the USS Lehigh during the Civil War not only had a cat, but also had a rooster on board. Throughout modern American military history, horses have always really played a major role until really World War I. They've even played a role more recently in Afghanistan, where Special Forces troops used horses to get around during our invasion in the early 2000s. But they've also played a role really in the lives of individual soldiers as well, giving them comfort in many cases. General Grant famously kept his horse, Cincinnati. He felt so strongly about it, he only let 2 other people ride ever, an admiral and Abraham Lincoln. Historically, rats have been a pest that soldiers have used their pets, cats and dogs, to get rid of. But more recently, rats have become a tool for the military, and they're now looking into and experimenting with using rats to get rid of landmines and sniff them out. And they've found that rats actually work better, and they're already being used on the civilian side to get rid of landmines in Africa. The Civil War could have played out quite differently if Abraham Lincoln had accepted an offer by the King of Siam for a herd of elephants to use in battle. Probably intelligently, Lincoln decided to turn down the offer politely, pointing out that they didn't have quite the right climate for elephants. So one of the stranger examples of animals used by the U.S. military was the Us Camel Corps. In the 1850s, strongly backed by Jefferson Davis, then Secretary of War, future President of the Confederacy, urged the use of camels in the desert of the Southwest to fight Native Americans, and a group of camels were in fact acquired and brought over to the United States. The Camel Corps ended up being a failure, but there were camels hanging out in the desert Southwest until at least the 1870s, we know. There were remaining camels hanging around. One camel was actually recruited into the Confederacy and became a mascot for a Confederate unit before it was killed at Vicksburg. It does actually have a gravestone at Vicksburg now. Douglas the camel. I was surprised at the depth of how many animals really had served and the variety of roles they've played in the U.S. military, and the importance that it was put upon them by the soldiers themselves. To the soldiers who actually fought, their animals mattered a lot and were one of the things that helped them get them through each day.